My name is Michael Zakaras. I work for Ashoka here in the United States, and I sort of coordinate the efforts of finding new Ashoka Fellows, which is essentially social entrepreneurs that join Ashoka's community of 3,000 fellows around the world. Ashoka is the world's largest network of social entrepreneurs, with those 3,000 in 70 countries, and it's been around for about 30 years. It was really one of the early players in this field. Our founder, Bill Drayton, helped define social entrepreneur, and in the early 80s really challenged the notion that business had a monopoly on entrepreneurship. So in doing so, both helped create an identity for these people that existed but didn't really think of themselves as social entrepreneurs, and then more importantly started to create a support system so that those social entrepreneurs had the same kinds of resources and networks that business entrepreneurs expected. And so 30 years later, the field has evolved quite a bit. There's now many other organizations like Ashoka. And more importantly, social entrepreneurship has really taken root. You've got universities now teaching social entrepreneurship curriculum. You've got conferences all over the world, and you've got this vibrant community of social innovators and change makers.
Great. So you said there's 3,000.
3,000.
Fellows in 70 countries. What are some of those locations that you're in?
There's all regions of the world. Ashoka, the name is an Indian name, and some of the earliest fellows were found and supported in India, and then subsequently, sort of other parts of Asia and into Indonesia, and then Brazil, and then Africa, and eventually Central Europe, and then sort of most recently the U.S. And Western Europe. So of course the kinds of challenges that people are working on are quite different from Bangladesh to Ireland to the U.S. But the idea is that no matter where you are, there's a need for innovative thinking and for new approaches to social problems.
Great. So as you're recruiting all over the world, what characteristics do you look for in a potential social entrepreneur?
So Ashoka looks at 5 different criteria. They really boil down to two fundamental questions. The first is this a new or better way of solving a particular social problem? And the second is, will this idea together with this person potentially be transformative? So it's both. We're looking both at the quality of the idea and the ability for that idea to get traction in a particular context and region, and we're looking at qualities of this particular person. Do they have the same qualities we often associate with a business entrepreneur? And that is that creativity and innovation, the ability to see your field 5 years ahead of everybody else, a certain tenacity and passion, but obviously applied to social problems.
Great. So your tagline, I see, is "Everyone a change maker."
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Yeah. So Ashoka has evolved in its 30 years, and I think its initial goal was both to create an identity for these people and to help build a certain infrastructure to help support them, so that it wasn't just Ashoka. And I think in that sense we've been quite successful. There was a recognition about 10 years ago or a little bit longer that we sort of asked ourselves, okay, what are we growing towards? Is it just to reach 4,000 fellows or 5,000, or to reach sort of a saturation in terms of number of countries? And we recognized that as important as social entrepreneurs were, and as important as the work that they were doing is, what we really wanted was a world where problems were not outrunning solutions, but rather the opposite, that solutions were sort of staying ahead of problems. And the only way to do that was for everyone to play a role as what we call a change maker. And that means at the neighborhood level, community level. It can begin in elementary schools. And so our focus shifted a little bit, and some of our programming and our thinking shifted towards that more democratic, I would say, theory of how social change should happen. So of course fellows still play a central role. They're going to be terrific role models, and one thing that they do so well is actually help recruit others in their work. So in that sense, they are recruiting change makers all the time. But some of our more recent work has now been how do we identify what are those key change-making skills, and how can we begin to prioritize them more across all of our institutions, but especially in schools and with young people.
Great. So how can people get involved with Ashoka and social entrepreneurship if they want more information or want to get involved?
Yeah, well, there's lots of ways to get involved. Of course, you can learn more looking at Ashoka's website, but Ashoka operates quite regionally and in a fairly decentralized fashion. So, I would look to see where Ashoka is in your country or region, and also to look and see what are the kinds of Ashoka fellows. And these are the social entrepreneurs that are working in your country and your region. What are the kinds of problems that they're working on, and are those problems that you're interested in? And so there's a number of ways. I mean, Ashoka really tries to be a platform for talented people and for problem solvers of all kinds. And so getting in touch with us, and whether it's volunteers, whether it's through, again, university programs that we have ways to engage supporters who contribute some financing to Ashoka to support these fellows, and then also contribute time and mentorship so that they can help fellows advance their work. So there's a lot of different ways, multiple entry points.